Mr. Christmas seems like a good idea, but unfortunately, it's not a very good film. This was released in 2004. It's written and directed by Beth Brickell, and it's about this family mother, father, two daughters in the run up to Christmas in 1940s. I will say it doesn't really feel like the 1940s, and I feel like they know this because they include a couple of radio broadcasts about the war to confirm to us that this is the 1940s. So I feel like they're aware that it didn't really feel like the 40s. The other thing, I guess, that made it feel like the 40s are the prices are looking through this catalogue and the children are looking at the toys. One of the children really wants a bike and they mentioned the cost of the bike. And I think it was $26, I think. So obviously, definitely indicates that it's not a contemporary narrative. And the family haven't got a lot of money, but they want to get the daughter. Well, the father really wants to get the daughter this bike that she wants. So he tries to go about doing this, but not in any really sensible or logical way. And I also think he's left it a little bit last minute to think about getting his daughter this Christmas gift. Maybe if he'd planned ahead, they could have done something about it. But he's not a very likable character. One would think that if this father is trying to move heaven and earth to get this bike, he'd be very likable because he's doing this thing for his daughter and working hard to try and make her happy. But none of the characters are likable. I don't necessarily dislike any of the characters, and I think the mother is the only one who's got a sensible head on. But I didn't really care for any of them, so I wasn't really emotionally invested in the narrative. And they never really took the opportunity to tell the children Christmas isn't about the gifts. They're still getting their children gifts. They're not going without anything. So we don't even have this emotional story where the poor children are going to wake up on Christmas morning with no presents. That's not even the case. They're getting gifts. It's just this little girl wants something, they can't afford it, and they make a pretty poor narrative of trying to get it. And instead, they should have taught the daughter that actually Christmas isn't about getting what you want. I think I think the mother at one point did say, but I think it was to the father. She said sometimes in life you don't get what you want, but obviously that's not quite the same thing. With regards to the actual events of the narrative, nothing happens apart from the father dashing around a little bit. But as I said, his actions just weren't the best and he wasn't a very likable character. And nothing else happens apart from the children. Well, one of the children mostly whining about wanting this gift. And I thought, okay, it's still got a bit of time left. It has some chance to redeem itself. And it doesn't. So I'll discuss the ending now with a spoiler warning. I'm giving a spoiler warning in case you decide to watch this, but I certainly don't recommend it. So, spoilers from now. This ends ridiculously abruptly. I didn't know that this was less than an hour in length before I watched it. There's not necessarily anything wrong with a film being less than an hour. In fact, I favour films being as long as they need to be and not dragging things out. So I guess credit where it's due, they didn't feel the need to drag it out for too long. But I feel like we needed a good 10 minutes at the end for the children to really understand the message that they were receiving. Even though I don't think it's necessarily the best message, because at the end of the film, they get a dog, which is great and adorable, I have to say. The dog didn't look too pleased to be there, but the dog's very adorable. And the girl obviously stops thinking about this bike, but at the same time, they probably can't afford to feed this dog. And dogs are expensive. And I still feel like the message should have been be grateful for the toys that you've been given instead of being in a mood. Because this little girl was in such a mood on Christmas morning and I hated her. Nothing wrong with the acting, I have to say that. The acting across the board is fine. But the way this character is written is just really unlikable. And as I said, I thought there was still time for things to turn around, for the character to redeem herself. I know she's just a child, but the parents were not parenting her properly by telling her to stop sulking and to be grateful for what she has. And yes, the dog came along, but it was basically a case of here's a dog, can we keep the dog? Okay, we'll give him the bone from the ham. Roll end credits. That's it. And I don't believe the children actually learned what the lesson was. And I feel like that's the only thing that could have saved this narrative. So it's not very well written, it's not very well executed. The filming is okay, it's not badly filmed, the camera work is okay, the pacing is terrible, nothing happens, the characters are not likable. As I said, the mother and the I think it's the older of the two daughters. I could be wrong, but certainly one of the children, the child who isn't whinging about this bike, isn't too bad. I don't feel anything about that character. And the mother is not too bad either, but again, she should have really started to focus on teaching her daughter to be more appreciative of what she has rather than what she can get. Because bearing in mind the conclusion of the film, she still gets something. She still gets the dog and still doesn't really show any appreciation for the Christmas gifts that she received. Gifts that, as far as I can tell, the family still probably couldn't have really afforded. Obviously, they didn't want their children to go without, so they made sure they got something. And that little girl just didn't care. So, not a great film. It didn't fill me with some fuzzy, heartwarming feeling and leave me feeling uplifted with the true spirit of Christmas. I just felt annoyed, and I really don't recommend it.